At the Pac-12 North. Little preseason scouting report on the University of Oregon offense. Some issues on that offensive line, some talent on the perimeter, and a question mark at quarterback. It's coming up right now. Hey everybody, welcome to Elite Athletes TV. I'm Mike Pulaski, former 11-year pro quarterback, world champion, and quarterbacks coach here at EliteAthletesTV.com. As many of you know, I'm an analyst in the Pac-12. I do the radio for Cal Football. I've been covering the game from Pac-12 networks to Fox Sports to Comcast Sportsnet, and I love being around the Pac-12. I love Pac-12 football, and I'm interested in what the season is going to look like this year. Recently, I did my preview of Cal's defense. If you want to see it, I'll put a card right up here. You can check that out. I will also put the link in the comment section down below. Today, I want to talk about Oregon. I just want to touch on Oregon because camp just started. We're in that first week. They just had their first scrimmage, and we've seen a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. Before we get started, if you love football, if you love X's and O's, if you love getting an insider view from an 11-year pro quarterback, make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. That way you get notified every time we have new content coming out. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to take a look at the Ducks offense, and leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you think. Got a lot of great reviews on my Tyler Shough video I did earlier. We're going to talk about him here later today. And also, please share this out. We give instructional content for young quarterbacks, quarterback coaches, other athletes around the game, all kinds of sports, former Olympians with me. We're trying to help as many young athletes as we can. The more you share this out, the more young athletes we can help. And that's our mission here at EliteAthletesTV.com, to help those young athletes get the information they need to play at their peak. Oregon is picked to be the top team in the North this year. And to me, that's a bit of a stretch because you have a lot of unknowns on what's going on for the Ducks. On offense, you had just had a record-setting great quarterback in Justin Herbert leave the program. He's a guy who was a stalwart, who had been there. He was an anchoring point for that offense for a couple of years. Yes, he had injuries, but he was always there. He was stable, and he was a very good college quarterback. He is gone. This year, they have to replace him. Going into camp, Mario Cristobal named Tyler Shough as the heir apparent to that position. He's been taking all the snaps with the ones. This past weekend, he took all the snaps with the ones for the scrimmage. So going into the season where they stand right now, you have Tyler Shough in that position. Now, I also did a preview over Tyler Shough, wondering if he could be the guy. I liked him. I liked his footage. I liked seeing him. Just saw a little bit versus Nevada, got a couple reps during the year. If you want to see that review, I will put that card up here as well and the link down below in the comments section. I think he has potential to be a very good quarterback. And at that, he is loaded on the perimeter. First, let's start at that running back position. Oregon has 3 returning backs that were very, very good. The top of the list, C.J. Verdell. He's a guy that's explosive. He's fast, in the mold of the Oregon running back. That big physical offensive line he had last year, including Penei Sewell, who will be missing this year, allowed him to get 1,000 yards the last 2 seasons. Now, he is once again talking about getting 1,000 yards this season. And he made a prediction based on 8 games saying he's trying to get that 1,000 yards. That would be a huge feat. And, I would never naysay anybody trying to do something like that. I hope he gets it. But it's going to be tough to do. That's 125 yards a game if you get to a bowl game. And so he's going to have to run hard. He's going to have some blocking up front. And all the luck in the world to you, CJ. Hope you get there. Behind Verdell, you have Cyrus Habibi-Likio and Travis Dye. Both these guys, very good backs. Probably starters without Vardell in front of them. These guys are both talented, fast, speedy. Again, Oregon running backs in a nutshell. It's all going to come down to blocking up front for these guys. That's going to be the biggest key for Oregon this year. One of the things that concerns me when I look at Oregon and why they're picked to finish so high is they literally have to replace all 5 starting offensive linemen. Some graduates and some guys opting out. Penei Sewell being the most notable of those, one of the best offensive linemen in the country, if not the best offensive lineman in the country, has opted out this season, getting prepared for the 2021 NFL Draft. He's predicted to go top 5 pick. You can understand why he would do that, not risk that future to come back and play this season, especially with everything that's gone on around the country. So he's focusing on getting prepared for the next phase of his career. But as a result, you have to replace 5 dudes. The offensive line sets the tone for the offense. And when you have to replace all 5 of those guys, you are going to be missing personality for a while. I don't care who's in charge. I don't care what you say until these guys go out and get some expert power, the power of proving that you can get it done, the power of having that experience playing, the power of taking charge of a huddle. They're going to be lacking personality. They're going to be lacking that offensive line that you need. Now, again, Cristobal, I'm a huge fan. He loves to grind. He is an offensive line coach. He's got a lot of toughness about him. He played offensive line himself, and so he gets the position. And so if anybody as a head guy can make this happen, he can make it happen. But it's not easy. I've never heard of a team that's replaced all 5 offensive line positions in a single season. And so when we predict Oregon, or not we, when the media predicts Oregon to finish so highly, a huge part of that is going to have to be the offensive line. They are going to have to step up. They're going to have to find dudes in a hurry. I'm sure they have talent, but those guys have not played. They have not repped. They have not seen live action to that extent as starters. And so they have to figure that out. And it was all 6 of their top offensive linemen that are actually gone now. So they have to come in with a whole new crop of offensive linemen. That is detrimental to an offense. At the wide receiver position, Oregon also still loaded. Johnny Johnson III returns. He's back, ready to catch passes. You also have Micah Pittman, and he is a phenomenal football player. Last year, more of a slot guy. This year, moving him out to that wide out position. A guy that can make plays down the field. Obviously, talent in the family. His brother got drafted this year in the NFL and is making plays now on Sundays. But they have tools. These guys are good football players at that receiver position. They also have a true freshman that everybody is speaking incredibly highly of this year. That's Chris Hudson. And he is a guy who has the tools out of St. John Bosco, 5'11", speedy guy, understands the game. Bosco runs a very good system. If you're trying to create future college players, Bosco's been very good at that, creating good athletes, sending guys on to the next level. And so he has a good experience being from a winning program, understanding how to practice hard, understanding the X's and O's. And he's a guy who's going to make some noise at that receiver position this year. During the offseason, in spite of COVID, Tyler Shough, the quarterback, the heir apparent, actually worked with Johnny Johnson III because they're both from down in Arizona. I believe it's Mesa. But these guys both worked together during the offseason. So they've developed a chemistry working together, throwing the football, staying in shape. That is a huge deal. Mario Cristobal also talked about the running back position, and all 3 of those guys that I mentioned having excellent off seasons in spite of this pandemic, working their butts off, changing their bodies, becoming more physical, coming in shape, ready to go. And so that is a huge deal for that offensive side. Again, offensive line is where it all starts, period. End of discussion. The game is won and lost in the pits. Those big guys have to make it happen. That's going to be the biggest question mark going into the season. I've seen Shough's film. I believe he can get it done. Now, he may struggle early with that offensive line. That's a huge part of it. If he's not getting blocking, if they're missing running stuff up front, if they can't run the ball effectively, it makes it tougher to be a passer back in the pocket. Oregon really focuses on the play-action game. Justin Herbert was incredibly successful in that play-action game. It's a huge piece of what they do. If that offensive line doesn't gel right away, and if they're not able to run the ball, they're going to be in trouble. Remember, this year, Pac-12 teams don't get any warm-up games. There is no preseason. There's no out-of-conference. You are coming straight in, firing it up, and going against Pac-12 opponents. Now, Oregon doesn't have to play SC this year, not on the schedule. And so they get that pass, but they still have to play every team in the Pac-12 North. And the Pac-12 North, it's going to be pretty good. Cal is picked number 2 right now. Stanford has moved up. They look very good. Washington has potential. New offensive coordinator, new head coach. Coach Peterson stepped down, new quarterback. So some interesting changes at Washington, and we'll break down all those teams coming up. But the Pac-12 North is going to be a tough division this year. Washington State, Mike Leach moves down to the SEC. Nick Rolovich steps up. So you're probably not going to see a huge drop-off in terms of the type of offense they run, the type of numbers they put up. Rolo, a really good offensive coach, a product of the run-and-shoot offense. He loves to air it out, and he has a team built for that in Washington State. So some good teams in the North this year, It's going to be an interesting battle. We're going to have to see what this Oregon offensive line can do, if they allow Shough some time, if they allow Verdell to gain those 1,000 yards. So a lot of questions going into camp, just like every other team in the Pac-12 right now. But that's my preview of the Oregon Ducks offense coming up. We'll take a look at their defense down the line. We'll talk about all the other Pac-12 schools, starting in the north, working our way down to the south before the season starts here. And we'll have some other analysts from around the conference on to discuss their teams. I appreciate you watching. Just talking college football, talking about the skills that are out there, guys at new positions, some new faces we're going to see. And hopefully, I'm looking forward to a short but great Pac-12 season.